In the name of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Well, the well-publicised encounter between Craig Kelly and Tanya Plibersek during the week reminded me of my encounter with the member for Hughes. We were in a crowded function room when out of the crowd we just came face to face. There was a nanosecond of recognition, and then he blurted out, "Oh God, I know who you are," and turned around and disappeared into the crowd. In Kelly's encounter with Plibersek, he continued to peddle the lies and the conspiracy theories and the misinformation about coronavirus and about the vaccines. These are the kind of voices that we need to, in some way, silence, at least in our psyches. And I'm pleased that the Prime Minister has actually moved to address this issue, although I think it was far, far too late. Free speech is incredibly important, but it does not extend to lies and to misinformation. When I was growing up, trolls came from Grimm's fairy tales. And they lived under bridges. Now, while I had a very, very active imagination, and some people may say that I still do, I did understand that these trolls in the fairy tales couldn't actually hurt me. But today, trolls are different. Trolls don't live under bridges anymore. They live in cyberspace. They live in our political life. They live in our community life. And therefore, they also live in our imaginations. In her book, Troll Hunting, a friend of mine, Ginger Gorman, writes, "It's dangerous to fool yourself into believing that the online world is virtual and that the person behind the keyboard cannot inflict real harm. It's dangerous to believe that, because it is an erroneous belief. Internet trolls are narcissistic, Machiavellian, sociopathic, and sadistic. They actually want to hurt us. I once received 156 emails from a troll over a period of 6 months. The first 10 or so emails I just ignored, but they just kept coming. And so I became concerned that this person's behaviour was beginning to escalate and therefore may actually represent a real threat. So then I began to monitor the emails. But it was then, that the messaging that this troll was sending in my direction actually started to creep into my psyche. It started to seep into my being. Now, I resisted the temptation to respond because I had been told very clearly that you don't feed the trolls. Eventually, I reported the abuse to the police, and the perpetrator was caught, convicted, fined, and given a good behaviour bond. But in case you think trolls are unmarriable, fast food addicted people living in their mother's basement, this troll was married, with children, was a retired school teacher, had been recognised for his extensive contribution to the Rural Fire Service. He was a pillar of the community, respected by people around him, but living this secret and destructive life. After his conviction, he wrote an incredibly disingenuous apology, stating that if only I had asked him to stop, he would have done so. Now, of course, that just isn't true. If he'd gained a glimpse that his emails were causing me some kind of pain or distress, That would have actually increased his pleasure and encouraged him even more to keep sending them. The parish Facebook page is trolled mercilessly, as are my personal social media accounts. All up, we've got about 100,000 followers on social media. But we've got almost that many people who have been blocked and deleted from our social media. An accomplished and skilled troll will begin a conversation by seeming incredibly reasonable and asking what seem like genuine questions. But they'll be leading you down the garden path so that they can then begin to get you to doubt yourself and to even eventually to hate yourself, and in the most extreme circumstances, to destroy yourself, as has happened so many times, especially among young people. Trolls, as we now call them, are a manifestation of modern-day demons that we read about in the Scriptures today. Biblical words that describe such manifestations of evil usually have the etymology of division, to split apart communities, to split apart people one from the other, and perhaps most devastatingly, to split apart the individual psyche. Now, trolls are, of course, not just confined to cyberspace or to the computer age. These diabolical, and I ask you to note the prefix of that word diabolical, it's D-I, which means two. In other words, to divide in two. The diabolical divides. It divides groups from other groups. It divides people from people. And ultimately, it divides our own unified psyche. When demons do get to speak in the Scriptures, which is rare, they always refer to themselves as we or us, as if their very essence is multiplicity, as if their very essence is divided from the unified I or one to we and us. They're split apart. These diabolical influences have always been with us. They've been with us in the school bully, in the debilitating partner or sibling or parent, for that matter, in the work colleague that puts us down, the teacher who belittles us. The list goes on. They all communicate to us that we are not good enough, that we are not worthy of love, that we are not worthy of the place we have in the universe. But like all demons, they are liars. They do not tell the truth, because the truth is we are all children of God. We are all worthy of love. We are all worthy of the place that we inhabit in the universe. Now, because of our rightly upholding the principle of freedom of speech, we are in turn vulnerable to the trolls, to the demons. Somehow or other we have fallen into the trap of thinking that all opinions are of equal value and that all opinions have the same right to be heard. They are not, and they do not. Now, I am a committed liberal, and one of the hallmarks of liberalism is that we take our information from a broad range of sources. We inquire in different areas for information They will help us to form a balanced opinion. But we also accept that it is not helpful to hear from every source. We are told that Jesus did not allow the demons to speak. He would not let them into his psyche. And we would do well to learn from his example. If we are well informed from a wide range of reputable sources, we will have a much better sense of which voices to allow into our psyches and which voices to silence. Now, of course, we can't really gag people. And apart from the very broad laws we have about defamation and a few other things, we can't really silence people. And there are very good arguments to suggest that when we actually do silence people, we diminish ourselves as a society. So that's not the answer. But we can silence the demons. We can silence the misinformation and the conspiracy theorists. We can silence them in our own minds and in our own psyches. And that's what we should do. That's what Jesus was doing when he does not allow the demons to speak. He blocks them and deletes them. He blocks them from his psyche. He stops that contagion of the divided psyche, the divided self, infecting his unified psyche. And that's what we have to do too, if we want to be healthy human beings. So, how do we do it? Well, that advice I got so many years ago when I first started doing things on social media was good advice. Don't feed the trolls. Their sustenance is negative emotion. It is fear, it is pain, it is anger. They need your fear, your pain and your anger to live. It is like oxygen to them. Don't give it to them. They feed off our personal details, our passwords, our account numbers. Don't give it to them. No bank will ask you for your password or for your details. No account that you have will ask you to do that. Don't give it to them. Silence them. Hang up on them. Ban them. Delete them. Do not engage. You can't help them. They actually don't want your help. They want your attention. You are nothing to them but food. Choose wisely. When we look at reputable sources for our information, there are certain media conglomerations that do not have reputable sources for their information. Often, sadly, our elected representatives don't give us reputable information. So peer-reviewed science is a very good place to start. And there is wisdom to be found in the great meta-narratives of human history. When Jesus said, "You will know them by their fruits." Look at what people produce. Look at the fruit they produce. You will know them by their fruits. When he said that, he was giving us incredibly valuable advice. We need good leaders to guide us. I think our Prime Minister took far too long to stop that misinformation that was coming from the member for Hughes. You will know them by their fruits. We need elected leaders, religious leaders, news editors, business leaders to be committed to truth. And we need that commitment from them before we can be safe. But until then, we have to forbid the demons to speak, to banish them from our inner worlds, so that we may live safely in a troll-free zone. The Lord be with you.